I'm just going to continue to paint, and I'm going to fast track this because to do anything different would bore you. So I'm just going to speed this up, but I'll continue to record my steps and you can just watch as I go. So just applying more color, you know, kind of delineating some trees. I'm drawn to trees, obviously. If you've looked at my work, you've seen I've done several kind of abstract landscapes that are kind of forest or trees with a clearing, and this painting is going to turn out to be similar to that. But I just continue here and just continue to speed this up just to show you. Again, I just step back, look at things, evaluate, turn the canvas sometimes for drips, apply color, wipe some off, using different color brushes. So what am I seeing here? I've done a little bit of extra. I fast-tracked through to get to this point, to the last one. I'm just adding a little bit of color nuances here and there. And I don't know yet what this is going to be. I'm not quite sure. But I'm just trying to use my imagination, be creative, be intuitive, and see what happens. And so I apply color, and I'm starting to almost like, in some places, paint between the lines, if you will, because I find that this is interesting. And sometimes a color doesn't pop or show up really until you apply another color beside it. And of course, the color that's going to make it pop the most is going to be its complement, or somewhere close to its complement. So you'll see right now it might not look like much, but I will continue to work with it, work in more colors, add some textures. The paint will likely get thicker as I go along, but I'm trying to stay pretty smooth, pretty dreamy, but I'm slowly starting to add some harder lines. Some of these I may end up wiping off, I might end up smearing, I just don't know. So let's just continue the process and see where this goes. This part that I'm painting right here, actually I end up covering up because it ended up being too heavy, and you'll see that going forward in just a few minutes. But it's trial and error. You just have to try some color here, color there, and see how it works. And if it doesn't work for you, then you just go back, reevaluate, and you change it up. That's all you have to do. It's also important to keep in mind just rules of composition, and I'm not saying you can't break them, but it does help you as a guide, as well as keeping your color wheel next to you and referring to that if you need to, just to know what colors pop next to others. And I don't know that I'm really thinking about composition at this point, but intuitively, and just because of painting for a while, that does enter into where I place things. Okay, so I've done a little bit more, and I'm liking the way this is looking. Now, I could turn it sideways. What does that look like? What do you think with that? That's one of the cool things about this particular easel. Or what does this look like if I turned it upside down? So there's another option. And again, this is one of the joys, beauties of abstraction. Painting stuff that's not specific can make a difference. So that actually looks pretty interesting to me. It definitely, if you look at it this way, it really opens up the foreground. And obviously this is looking like a wooded tree area here, maybe some brush in the background over here that I could, or some bushes or something over here that I'm creating. But this is kind of this is my process when it comes to doing an abstract. Yes, I'm referring to this a little bit, looking at it, looking at elements of it that I like, but obviously this is going to be very different, but very similar color-wise because I'm using kind of the same palette. But actually, I really do think I might stick with flipping it like this and developing it out. I don't know, but I'm going to continue to maybe paint a little bit upside down. This could easily be a path. This could be a path. These look like some kind of trees or brush. And again, I can, you know, make it as specific or as general or blur it out. I'm not committing to anything yet because I'm not quite sure where I'm going. So anyway, so let's continue. Notice here, I applied paint with a brush and then I took my gloved hand and smeared it. So honestly, a lot of times I don't like painting with brushes because I feel too limited with it. I feel like I can be more creative using my fingers and using a rubber tip, and using scrapes and just different things. And that's one of the things about painting with, or painting in abstract, or really any kind of painting, is that you don't have to be confined to using just a paintbrush. You can easily use other things such as rubber tip spatulas or whatever. So just looking here, you noticed in the last speed video that I turned it sideways and let it bleed, and then I turned it back. So I'm getting some interesting textures here. Again, a lot of this I may paint over, I may leave it, but it just goes to show you some of the different things you can do just to spark the imagination. I'm clearly seeing some kind of landscape here, but I do want it to remain abstract, you know. Now, I'm not full on just shapes and color abstract kind of painter, but I do love the fact that this has some kind of nature abstract look to it. So that's what I'm, I guess, developing out here. So let's just take it further. Again, I'm just kind of grabbing different colors and adding, delineating some things. This blue I'm adding is to kind of suggest a tree or some highlights on a tree. I can't exactly tell you why I put the pink there, but I just thought it would be interesting next to those colors. Again, this is an experimental process, and you just have to kind of play with it. And if there's something there that you don't like, easily you can wipe it off with oil. Again, acrylic's a little more, well, it's different. You just have to paint over it. But with oil, you can scrape, you can wipe, and if you come back and it's dry, you can scrape it off, and you can certainly paint over it as well. But I'm trying to indicate some trees here and some branches, and just slowly building with no real point of reference, just kind of standing back and taking things in and using, I don't know, my imagination as to what this may or may not be. Adding some blue in to suggest sky is always a good thing. It also helps the background kind of regress a bit, unless, of course, I wanted to leave the white. But I'm really, really liking the way this is looking at this point. Here I decided that this was definitively a tree on the left that was close up, and so I'm starting to develop that out. Also added a few drips. I love the drips, and all I do is apply some color that's juicy or thinned out with Gamsol, so that when you press the brush onto the canvas, it just drips. And again, with this kind of canvas, and turning it allows the drips to go in different directions if you want it to. So that's a fun Notice I decided to blur the kind of red alizarin that I was using on that tree. I didn't want to commit completely to that yet, so then I blurred it, and now I'm coming back and I'm adding more detail over top. Here, I'm really liking the way this branch is looking, so I'm delineating it a bit and developing it out because I don't know, I love the way that comes forward. I love kind of the shadow look underneath. And then I decided to add a kind of a reddish tree into the background. Notice how this is starting to come together. I also love the way the blues and the purples dance in this painting as I apply them. The light purple as well as the dark or more lavender, but I love the way it looks. Okay, so I'm almost done here. I really like the way this is looking. I love the visual display of color. I love the interest. I love the fact that there's this opening here that kind of draws you in through the trees, through the branches. As you can tell from the previous video screens that you saw, this was too heavy up here, and I wanted this to fade some into the background, so I got rid of some of that darker color up here so it would regress a bit and would not draw your eye as much. But this area right here, I just want to come in and, I don't know, add a little more definition, not too much, but I feel like this is a little too muddy. I mean, I like it, this big tree trunk, and we're not quite sure where it is. I mean, this looks like a tree that's going up through here, but and then we've got one that's kind of that way. But I'm going to come in and try to define a little bit around it now. Again here, I'm just adding final touches, changing a few things, standing back, reevaluating, but really working on this tree that's in the foreground, establishing that with some purples and some reds and some blues. And I don't know, I love the way that it jumps forward. Okay, I think there's always a chance of changing, but I think I'm done. I'm feeling really happy about it. I pulled this tree forward like I was hoping to do because I feel like that is the closest thing to us as it goes up. Still, it gets a little further away, but anyway, popped the background forward a little bit by this tree behind. And before I end this video, I just wanted to show you the final product and what it would look like if it was turned to black and white. That's a good way to judge your values and get a stand back, objective opinion about how this painting reads, if your values are correct, if your lights and darks are correct, and even your composition. So here's the black and white. What do you think? And now I think the only thing I'm ready to do is sign this